On this episode of the Mad Rush podcast.
Most people who write books, at least their first book, are people who work. But this is my advice. So you've got to create a structure. So let's say that you work all day long and you come home and you've got to do dinner for the kids and all that kind of stuff. If you really want to write a book, then you're going to have to carve out time either first thing in the morning, 2 hours minimum, or 2 hours at night, where it's your book time. And the only way I wrote Back to Blue Holly was I gave myself office hours.
Welcome to the Mad Rush podcast. I'm Tricia Addicks, the original Sorority Rush consultant. While the stories I have to share are nothing short of astonishing, this podcast goes beyond the wild client tales and sorority life. I'll be engaging with fascinating guests from both within and outside the Greek world, uncovering the surprising connections that bind us all together. Join me for a journey that's as entertaining as it is enlightening. Welcome to Mad Rush. All right, y'all are in for a treat today. The theme of this episode is the ties that bind. That's the first thing I thought about when I thought about today's guest. I'm so grateful that my Chi Omega Pledge sister, Beth Pride, is joining me today, and I knew her as Beth Hackett. Beth is a writer in Lexington, Kentucky, where she lives on a thoroughbred breeding farm with her husband and 13 other studs, including future stallions. And you got to say the name of the horse because
Sovereignty.
And Sovereignty is the winner of this year's Kentucky Derby. And explain why you were in the winner's circle, because I'm afraid I'm going to butcher it.
Okay. My husband works for Godolphin, which is a worldwide racing and breeding organization owned by Sheikh Mohammed, ruler of Dubai. And my husband runs the American operations for Godolphin. And he and his team have worked very hard for a very long time to get a horse in the Derby. And we also had one in the Oaks, just so you know. You can't forget about the fillies, even though everybody always does, because... but anyway, so that was it. So we won the Oaks on Friday. We won the Derby on Saturday, and it was amazing. I mean, it's historic. There's only 4 single owners in the history of the entire Kentucky Derby franchise that have ever won both races on the same weekend.
I mean, I have chills. That is so freaking cool. Now, have you been to Dubai? I didn't ask you this the other day.
Yeah, I have. The last time I went like 4 times in a row early on, and then I haven't been since 2008. And my husband goes more frequently, but I think it's a completely changed city since 2008 now. I think there were like 1.3 million people in 2008. Now there's over 5 million. It's just boomed. Mm-hmm.
I'm very fascinated by Dubai. Like, it's kind of a little otherworldly.
It is. I mean, it's like Las Vegas without all of the vices. I mean, it's sort of desert but really built up for tourism. And also now it's sort of like the Switzerland of the Middle East. I mean, there's a lot of finance that goes through there, and it's a port city, and it's really vibrant. It's amazing. I
think we should go.
I know.
I want to go with you.
Let's go. Let's promote our books. Let's promote your new book.
Yes. Let's promote our books in Dubai. Yeah. How about that? I talked to some lady this morning, I shouldn't say some lady, from Hungary, and her daughter is going to school in the United States, and like trying to explain Sorority Rush to her. I was like, okay, let's not do that. Let's just have you sign on, and so we can handle it, because she was very fascinated, but also did not understand anything. Yeah. She was great. But okay, so for our purposes today, and I do want to hear more about that stuff because it's really cool, but Beth just published Back to Blue Holly. Hold it up for those who are going to watch this.
Oh, here it is. Okay.
I bought it and I've read it, but I don't know where my copy is. I've sent it to a bunch of people too. So anyway, the book is amazing. And Beth is the mother of 2 lovely adults who she insists are not responsible for the 20 years it took her to publish this novel. And it just released in 2025. So anyway, I'm so glad that we've reconnected. I'm so glad you're here. And I can't wait to talk about all the stuff with you.
Love it. Love it. I'm happy to be here. It's been very fun reconnecting with you too. I mean, and I will say, when I saw Bama Rush and our midnight picture was in there, I about died.
Did you? Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, that
Marguerite sent it to me. One of my high school friends said, "I'm watching Bama Rush. Did you know that you and Meryl, your picture is in there?" I'm like, "No, I didn't even know, Tricia, you were doing all that." And then that's how I found you again. I thought it was a blessing. I loved it.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, I don't know, blessing. It's a blessing that we were connected. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I'm not talking about Bama Rush, but the picture of you and me and Meryl, and I can't remember who the other girl was. I felt bad, but anyway.
Oh, I'll have to go back and look.
I know.
And look through your text from Meryl or send it to me because I want to know which. Maybe I should just watch it again. Yeah, but find it. So anyway, let's go back to then before we get into all the things. So we pledged in 1987, you and me. And I was a sophomore and you were a freshman. So I think we had obviously different journeys to get to that lawn. So tell me a little bit about your background. I know this, but I want them to know.
Yeah. Okay.
And what that looked like for you.
Yeah. So I went to Darlington. I'm from Rome, Georgia, which is northwest Georgia. It's about 20 minutes from the Alabama line, 70 miles northwest of Atlanta. Small town. And I went to Darlington.
Wait, Rome is next to Alabama?
It's only 20 minutes from Alabama. It's right way up in there in the northwest corridor. Our lake house was at Lake Weiss, which was in Cedar Bluff, 20 minutes away. Yeah.
Okay.
Very close to Alabama.
There you have it. Okay.
I know. A little geography lesson. But
yeah, I need a big geography lesson. I might have said it was close to Dubai. I don't know.
Right. Not close to Dubai. Nothing like that. But anyway, so went to Darlington School, private independent high school in Rome. Loved it. Great teachers, great experience. Pen and inked my application to Georgia. Okay. In the guidance counselor's office, $25, application fee. I'll never forget it because I'm like, I'm not going there. Well, didn't get into any of the other ridiculous schools that I applied to. I didn't.
Like what? Where else did you apply?
Oh, like Vanderbilt and, no. SAT scores did not have them. But, it's classic Beth, anyway, whatever. I didn't read the directions before. So did not get in. So Georgia was it. It was my only choice. So thank God I sent in the application, or I guess I would have taken a gap year. But it was huge. I was not prepared for how big it was. And so I knew Rush was going to be really important for me. And I did have some of my close high school friends were already there. So I had Julia Barton was a FAMU. Chrissy Marlowe was a KIO.
Oh, I didn't know she went to Darlington.
Yeah, they both went to Darlington, and they both were really good friends of mine. Well, Julia was my childhood friend. She's my homegirl, big time since I was 10. And so I knew going through Rush that it might be, that it should be good. I had some people who liked me at least. That was lucky. But it also could be complicated because I kind of wanted to do my own thing. I went into it not necessarily wanting to be a FAMU. I was very open to everything, because I wanted the experience of just, really, if I'm going to go big, I'm going to, want to spread my wings and really fly the direction I want to fly. And so I had a great rush. I was really lucky in that regard. I did get cut by one sorority. You want me to tell you who it was?
Yeah, I was about to say, you got to say.
Theta.
Theta cut you?
Yes. And I ended up being their next door neighbor.
Yeah, you did.
Anyway.
I have a quick interruption for that. I had these clients that were twins, and they were both beautiful, amazing, accomplished girls. They went to different schools. And one of them, her personality was very much like, Theta cut me. What's wrong with them? And then the other one was like, everybody's going to cut me. No, and
yes.
It's I'm like, okay. So, but I'm thinking you're like the first twin.
Yes.
You're like, what the hell's wrong with you?
I'm the girl that thought I was going to get in Vanderbilt. Okay. So I just always thought everybody wanted me. That same mentality is true for publishing, and it never works out the way I think it's going to.
I'm crying.
But anyway, theta is great. I have lots of thetas that I love. But I had a good rush, probably because I was clueless. Like I was just like,
back then you could be clueless and just,
I just went in. I was just me, but not so much. Like I did get that advice, like be yourself, but not so much. And so I did do that. And I do remember one of my outfits of the day. I do remember one.
Oh God, tell us.
It was hideous, and I felt really fat in it. And that's probably the reason why I remember it.
Yeah. So it's so important. That's such a good point. It's so important to feel good in what you're wearing.
Yes. You got to feel good in it. Even if it's not perfect, as long as you feel good in it. But anyway, it was just like this really matching, ridiculous set. But whatever. I guess it worked.
We loved a matching set.
Ooh,
and
yeah.
I'm kind of going back to the matching sets.
They're back. They're kind of in. I saw somebody who
Yeah.
I think is very fashionable on Instagram who's like my age, and she had on a set and she looked really cool.
Yeah, I'm in my shorts era, meaning I love a short set right now. And which is really kind of weird because I have 57-year-old, very short, stumpy legs. But I love shorts, and I have like a whole section of my closet that's short sets.
I love that.
So
That takes me back.
yeah, maybe I'm hearkening back. I was about to say maybe I'm hearkening back to 1987.
Yeah.
So again, interrupted you.
No, it's fine. So the long story short is that I did have a good rush. I preffed Kappa, Chi O, and Phi Mu, and I cried at the Phi Mu pref night or whatever because I knew I was hoping to be a Chi O. Like
I bet Julia was crushed. Was she
well,
crushed?
so yeah, we had to really talk about it, and I didn't talk to her about it that night. I mean, we just kind of, because I didn't want her to, whatever. So anyway, we talked about it later. Of course, we're still like besties. And so none of it matters at the end of the day. But I did explain to her, I just said, I may just want to kind of do my own thing. And I just felt really comfortable I just wanted to do my own thing. And I really liked the Chi-Os and I liked the house. And I just thought it felt more like me. And so
You liked the mullet?
The mullet?
That's what a friend of mine calls the Chi-O house, because it's like short in the front, like it's a ranch, and then it's tall in the back. So she calls it the mullet.
I love me a ranch. I was all about the ranch. I loved it. I thought it was great. I didn't need these columns and all this French, sort of Baroque wrought iron. But anyway, no, it turned out great. And Julie and I hit the Waffle House one night and kind of slug it out and got over it. And of course, that was it. So that's my journey with Sorority Rush.
So that's exactly. So I went through Rush my freshman year, didn't get in. And then when I went back through Rush, I had spent a huge portion of my freshman year, and some of my best friends were in Phi Mu, and they were really pulling for me. And I thought going into Rush that I was going to choose, be a Phi Mu. Well, bid day, pref, same thing. I decided, Anna Lindsay was in Chi-O, and I loved the people that were, I'd connected with Chi-O. But bid day, the Phi Mu, and this was back before cell phones, as you know, the Phi Mu people thought that I was gonna, because I did not have the guts to like really talk about it. And so I kind of just didn't say that I was gonna put Chi-O first. And they were panicked. I remember them calling the dorm and trying to get in touch with me because they thought that I had not gotten in again. Because my freshman year, Phi Mu was my first choice. And so they were panicked, and then they were kind of crushed. I mean, that sounds weird, but they thought that that's where I was going to be. Right. And so it was a weird dynamic. And of course we talked about it and remained great friends. We're still friends today. But yeah, it is. It's so important at that time. Like, and you've been through a week of just being immersed in it. And it's like the only thing that people can talk about.
Yeah.
And for you listening, when you guys are going through Rush, take a breath, because you're going to find your place. And you're going to find your fit, and it's not going to be as all-consuming as it is now.
No, because I've got a really funny Rush story, and I know she won't mind if I tell it. Okay.
Oh, please, God, yes.
Yeah. So one of my best friends in Lexington is Kelly Brewer, and she's an artist, and she and I do projects together. So We did the Commonwealth of
Yes,
Kentucky project.
I was going to say the Commonwealth of Kentucky project.
Yes.
I got distracted, but I went to buy that for my friend that's from Kentucky.
Well, don't do that. I'll send it to her. We're like out, but I have some extra copies. So I'll get with you later on that. I'll send it to her.
Okay. Awesome.
But anyway, so Kelly and I are very close, but she's got a great Rush story. She was at Chapel Hill, and everybody, I think they were all like the Tridelts were rushing her really hard. Okay. And her best friend, Rebecca, was also going to go Tridelt. And so that was what Kelly just assumed, she was going to be a Tridelt. And so it was bid day. And so she just assumed, this is an awful story, that she was a Tridelt. And so they all like run down to the Tridelt house, and she's like got on the t-shirt, and like they're taking pictures, and her roommate, there's no phones. So her roommate comes to the house and says, Kelly, and she hands her the envelope. And Kelly was so into the whole thing that she never saw that they slid the envelope under the door. That was back in the day when it came under the door.
Right.
And so she did not open the envelope to see that she did not match with Tridelt. She matched with what was the other one? Oh my gosh.
80 Pie.
No, it was like Pi Phi or something like that.
Yeah, Pi Phi.
Okay, yeah. And so she is there, and she opens the envelope, and it's like Pi Phi. And so she runs to the phone booth, okay, and calls her mom, and she's crying. She's like, Mom, I don't know what I'm going to do. I've really screwed up. And they, and her mom goes, Kelly, take off the t-shirt and run, Kelly, run to the Pi Phi house. Go be a Pi Phi. Go, Kelly, go. So to this day, I love that. I'm always like, run, Kelly, run. So she did.
Oh.
So she ran to the Pi Phi house, and she got there, and she's like, sorry, I'm late. And
sorry, I'm late. I was taking pictures at the Tridelt house.
So anyway, the moral of the story is, and she loves telling this, is that first of all, read your mail, okay, number one. And then number two is, this plays into my observation of the day. Be ready to pivot if you need to pivot, and embrace it. And so she did. She got there, and she loved those girls. She had a great 4 years at Chapel Hill. It didn't matter. She could have thrown a dart at either any of 6 or 8 or 10 houses and been totally happy. But I love that story. I mean, I love
that story too. And that's a good point with the dart. We'll get back to that. But I talked to someone yesterday who we were talking about Ole Miss. And I think she said it was 2 years ago. And I did not know this because I wasn't there for that bid day. She said that the Grove, which is where they used to give out bid envelopes, she said that they were sitting in the Grove waiting to run to the houses. And someone came from Panhellenic, came on the speaker and was like, okay, some of you are going to have empty envelopes, but if you're in the Grove, you got a bid. So you're going to have to go to they're called rush counselors there, maybe pike eyes, I don't know. Go to your group leader, and she has a clipboard, and she's going to tell you where to go. And I was like, how does that happen? And I'm not even trashing them. I just don't understand why but so I guess they had some kind of computer issue or whatever. But I was like, I mean, I don't think my heart could have taken, even trusting that I had a bid, you don't know where it's from, but read your mail. Read your mail.
Read your mail. Exactly.
Read your mail. That's awesome. Okay. So when you were in Cayo, you met Dan. And so talk about, this is a pretty cool story. So,
so first of all, the thing that I loved about Cayo is actually a funny little thing is that, I got pretty into academics there towards after I came back from Telluride, I decided to start studying. And Cayo was a great place to be smart. Like, there were a lot of really smart girls in that sorority, and it's true.
I'm just laughing because it's so different than me.
Well,
I eked my way through college.
Well, I really got into it.
But I'm glad you did.
I was in the right major. I loved English. I loved everything about Park Hall. I mean, I ate it up.
I loved Park Hall too. Yeah. I was an English major too.
So I was still pretty, engaged in the sorority, and I'll never forget, like, chapter meetings, they would, they'd like hand out certificates to girls who had like 4.0s. And then like the next chapter meeting, it'd be candlelight, and they'd, hand out certificates to girls who got engaged. And so it was just classic 90s or yeah.
I was going to say classic 80s.
Yeah, 80s.
Sorority. Yeah.
So I went to University of Georgia summer program at Oxford, which was it was history and English majors could go, and you had to apply and get in. So it was a little different than Innsbruck.
Listeners, just so you know, I didn't even know this existed, and I was an English major. So continue.
Well, most of my friends went to Innsbruck,
Right.
and for summer abroad. But anyway, it was a summer abroad, and Dan was a history major, and we we met over there, and we fell in love in England. We were the second we're the second UGA at Oxford program, and I'm sure the first probably to get married out of it. I know that's how old we are.
Wow.
And so anyway, we came back and we just were in love, and so I just sort of, I don't know, I was kind of up to his rear end, it was like I was really into Dan, and so I kind of just didn't do the Kaio stuff as much, but I don't think that's really atypical. I mean, I think
No, I was about to say that's totally typical.
Yeah.
Even if you're not in love, like anything, it kind of loses its importance.
Yeah.
Not importance, that's not the right word, but it does. You make different friends through your major, all that kind of stuff. You start branching out.
And a lot of my good friends were actually a year older than me too. And I stuck around for graduate school. And so it just changes. Your experience changes, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so I ended up staying for graduate school, and Dan went on to go get a job in Nashville. And we ended up getting married 5 days after I finished graduate school.
I did not know that.
Yes,
wow.
We were so young. But
how long did you date before that? I mean, how long was
2 years from, door to door, like from.
From Innsbruck to.
From Oxford to marriage.
I mean, Oxford, yeah.
But
sorry.
It was just a different time. I mean, I laugh all the time. I mean, we were getting some pressure from the home front that, they didn't want us to live together, which of course everything changes. And so, I was going to be a teacher and make no money. And he was like a nonprofit. He was making no money. So we're like, why are we going to live in 2 different houses in Nashville when you finish your master's? And so I was like, well, so we got engaged. And so it was like an economic decision.
Right. But it's clearly a strong economic and love decision because you're still married.
We are 35 years from the time we met. We've been married. We've been together for 35 years. Yeah. And we've had awesome. Some really fun experiences. I'll just throw out there because it plays into my observation of the day. Can you tell that I'm into themes?
Yeah, well, I love it. I love it.
Writer in me.
Sometimes I have people on here and they're like, "Wait, what are you talking about?" I'm like, "You got the notes." Like,
I love it.
That.
I think it's great.
This is going to be asked. But go ahead.
So I was a teacher. I taught English and creative writing, coached a little soccer for the first almost decade of my career. And at one point, Dan wanted to become a teacher too. And so we moved to South Carolina and worked at a school called Hammond School under Dr. Barks, who was Dan's headmaster at Baylor, and had a great experience there. We were there for 5 years. And Dan, he's just always been into horses, like since he was 4. He was into horses, and he was coaching football and track. And then on the weekends, he'd go and he would work for this guy named Kip Elser, just mucking stalls, hot walking, whatever, just to be around these 2-year-old racehorses. And so finally, about 4 years into it, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, you're going every weekend to do these horses. Like, are we going to scratch this itch, or, are you going to wait until you're like really old, like 50?
I was about to say, I scratched my writing itch at 50.
Yeah, same.
Whatever.
50.
Yeah.
And so we just picked up, and literally, I'm not sure this is great advice, but we had some savings. We had like a year's supply of money that we could live on. And we just picked up Eliza, who was 18 months old, and we moved to Lexington and just said, we're going to give it a try. No job. Had nothing. And we'd had no job. We just went. And so we rented a house, and Dan, he mucked stalls. There was actually a cute article by the UGA Bulldog, Smith.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. That was super cool.
Cute. Where he just, he literally was mucking stalls and helping prep yearlings and that kind of thing. And then it just, he stair-stepped from there, and then he ends up running Godolphin America and in, the winter circle at the Kentucky Derby. And so it worked, right? But if it hadn't worked, it'd be okay. We could just go do something else. And we both were teachers, and we could do that. And so that's my story with Dan. And so it was
That's a great lesson.
Yeah.
And you did say it's your observation of the day, but the pivoting, sometimes the path that you're on is not the path that you're meant to be on. And I think definitely you guys were meant to be on this. You're able to write and, raise your family. And I think that's cool. Did you know that Margaret Durrett's husband is principal of, or I think either principal or headmaster at Baylor?
Chris.
She's a pledged sister of ours.
Okay. Well, so Chris Angel is headmaster at Baylor. And
okay. So then it's Hank Hopping is, I believe, principal of Baylor, and Margaret,
did not know that.
Our pledged sister, is her husband's.
What's his name?
Hank Hopping.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you sure he's not at Macaulay? Is he at Baylor?
Oh, wait, you're right.
I know Hank.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, forget it.
Yeah, I know Hank. Yeah.
Listen to me, like, okay, Beth, this is who I'm telling you, and you're like,
I still didn't know that. I mean, I've known Hank for a long time.
Oh,
I think
he probably would be super mad that I said Baylor because
we won't tell him.
I think they're rivals, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but they're friendly rivals.
Yeah, she's too busy to listen to this, and
good.
So saved by the bell, saved by you having some sort of
I think
brain on you.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think that he's at Macaulay.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Okay.
Because it kind of didn't sound right when I was saying it, but I was going to dig in. I was digging.
So, I was at Lexington School for 18 years, which is a feeder school for boarding schools. It goes K through 8, and I was in admission and marketing. And so I worked with a lot of independent school people all over the country, really, who were in boarding establishments. And so Hank would come up for these high school fairs and stuff like that. So I would see him a lot.
Gotcha. So, yeah.
Really cute. Really nice guy.
I told you. Yeah, he's a very nice guy. Yeah, so I'm going to stick to Rush, and you stick to everything else.
Definitely not true.
So what, Back to Blue Holly came out in January. What led you to do that?
Well,
just a desire to write, or?
Yeah, so I've always been a writer. I just haven't, it's gone in different forms. I should say storyteller. When I was at Lexington School, I taught creative writing, did a lot of writing early on, wanted to write a novel long, long ago, always had a lot of content. I'm
going to start using that. That's why I have a book, because I have a lot of content.
Exactly. Yeah. But most of my content was not publishable. And so I had to just, wait. And I wasn't going to write a book about my family. So that was not going to happen. But what happened was I ended up going into marketing, and it was a lot of short form writing. Blogging, Facebook posts, Twitter posts. And then I started doing a lot of videography, a lot of digital storytelling. And I really enjoyed that because video storytelling is similar to written storytelling in that you have the same pacing issue. You've got to make sure people want to keep watching. And so the same is true for novel writing. And probably short story writing too. I'm not a short story writer. And that is the pacing. You've got to make people want to turn the page. So it's really similar. It's a similar storytelling. It's just a very different medium. And so people have just always said, oh, you should write a book. Or when I am down here in Blue Ridge, I have these characters all around me, these characters that are real people. I'm like, God, she'd be great in a book. She'd be a great character in a book, or that'd be a great story in a book. And I probably have said this so many times in my life that finally I just said, well, you know what? I want to write that book. I want to write the book. And so I was a consultant for a while. And then I just said to Dan, I really would like to have I'd like a runway here for about a year. And he's always been so supportive. He's just an incredible cheerleader. But I felt like I had to ask permission to just take a year to really explore my creativity, and really not have a paying job, but just try this. And so I did the Commonwealth Kentucky project with Kelly first because she was in it and she really wanted my help. And that was incredibly inspiring. And I'm not sure I would have written this novel if it hadn't been for that experience with her, because we traveled all over Kentucky and she painted people from life while they told me their story. And I recorded their story.
They're going to love that.
Yeah, and I wrote these little short form narratives. They're about 850 words each, and then I did the a lot of video, and then I did the sound editing. And so in the book, I should have grabbed one, but in the book, you've got their portrait. That's kind of a study. It's not a finished portrait because she did them so fast. There were 70, and then you have the narrative, and you have a QR code where you can listen to them telling a portion of their story.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah. And so if you go to my podcast, that's repurposed. But anyway, there's some examples of it on that. And so those stories, I just was like, I learned so much. And I just loved their stories and just the connections, that it was all about humans connecting, and just the theme that, we're in Eastern Kentucky and we're in a coal mine and we're talking to these people, and, their background is very different, and their politics are different, and their, whatever, like their experience is very different, but we're all humans and we're all very connected in our life journey, and we all
I say that all the time. It's connecting.
Exactly. And so, so then, I'm here in Blue Ridge, which is a beautiful place in North Georgia. There's a lake, but it's not just the lake. It's a mountain town. It's very quirky. It has this sort of Yellowstone theme going, where you've got the locals who are really mad about all the tourists, and and a lot of these small towns do. So it is kind of small town universal, but there's a richness to these hills in that it's foothills of the Appalachians. So you have a lot of language that's really rich and interesting. You have a lot of you have Copper Hill, which is where they did the copper mining, and there's just a lot of cool stuff up here. And
that is very cool.
Yeah, and so for me, and
it comes across in the book.
Well, thank you.
Sure.
I wanted it to. I had to cut a lot, as from going through that as the whole editing thing. But so it was about setting first. It was setting and people inspired. The book was setting and people and place inspired. And the stories, a lot of them are based on real stories, but fictionalized. Characters, right. A lot of them are based on real people, but fictionalized. There's nothing that's real in the book. And at first, I wasn't going to tell anybody that it was based on Blue Ridge, because I wasn't sure how they were going to feel about it up here.
Right.
They love it. And so now I'm like, okay, it's based on Blue Ridge.
She's recording this from Blue Ridge, just FYI.
Yes.
So listening to you, I had an idea or a question, and if you can't answer this, don't. But I think I know a lot of people our age, which you're younger than me, are trying to figure out their next chapter and what they're going to do. And I think that there's some stat that like 85% of people want to write a book and like 5% do. I don't quote me on that. But I would love, what advice do you have for someone who maybe can't take, and this is why you might not be able to answer it, can't have a runway for a year? Or what, do you have any advice to someone who maybe wants to write a book right now and then self-publish it? Or do you have, like, is there anything that you wish you had known when you were doing this?
Yeah.
And if you don't have an answer, that's fine.
No, I definitely have an answer. So most people who write books, at least their first book, are people who work as well.
Okay.
And there are also, this was interesting. Did you know that there is a book published every 8 seconds in this country?
I actually just remembered it because you told me that.
Yes.
But when the last time we talked, but yes.
So a lot of people are writing and publishing books. And these days...
Okay, so my stat's probably way off anyway.
Well, these days, you can, if you want a self-published book, you can. It doesn't mean it's going to sell anything. You're not going to get rich publishing a book. You're a one book, I can promise you. You might, Tricia. Everybody's going to want to read.
I'm already rich. I'm just kidding.
Everybody's going to read your book. You've got a very good audience. Your book's going to kill it, I predict. But this is my advice. So you've got to create a structure. So let's say that you work all day long and, you come home and you've got to do dinner for the kids and all that kind of stuff. If you really want to write a book, then you're going to have to carve out time either first thing in the morning, 2 hours minimum, or 2 hours at night, where it's your book time. And the only way I wrote Back to Blue Holly was I gave myself office hours. So it's one thing not to have a structured job. It's another thing to make writing your structured job. And so that's advice I give everybody right at first is create writing hours or office hours. And, I have to get into a flow. I can't just talk into my recorder in my car at Wendy's drive-through like some people can. Some people do
Whoa,
that.
I didn't even know that was an option.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, some people. So here are two examples of what I'm talking about. Kathleen Brooks is a pseudonym for a woman who has written probably 50 novels, and they're like romantic suspense, cozy mysteries. And her name is Brooke Counts, and she lives in Lexington. She was a lawyer, and she every night when she would come home from practicing law, her therapy was to sit down and write. Well, I'm always too exhausted at the end of the day. That's not my productivity time. It's not good. I have to be a morning writer. But that's what she did. And then she had a story, and her husband said, "Hey, let's just throw this out there and see what happens." Well, that was a long time ago, and she now is just all over the place. She's just made a killing writing these cozy mysteries. Another example is my friend Cynthia Ellenson, and she was a mom, and for a long time, she would write at night too. That's when she did it. And she was able to, write a couple of novels. And then she's also the type of person who can sit in her car at soccer practice and just tell the story on her voice memo. And then she takes it and she goes and she types it in, or now these days your computer will just dictate it, transcribe it. And so some people do it that way. So you have to find your way, but it's definitely doable if it's in you. You just have to find the structure, and it needs to be a structure, and you need to have an outline. And that's my process. Okay. Right. I have to outline the book before I even start. I'm writing another book right now. If I don't do my office hours, it doesn't get done. Right. And so that's my personal process recommendation.
Well, that's awesome. And that's really great. And do you have a huge mistake that you can make? Idea? If you don't, that's fine. You know what I mean? Like if there's something like
I have more of those than the other.
People ask me all the time, like, what's the biggest mistake you can make in Rush? And I always say acting bored. So that's like my number one thing. Like, that's my number one. Do you have like a number one thing or one or two things that you feel for you? Yeah. It doesn't have to be for everybody.
Yes. Yeah. My number one mistake, which is true just throughout my entire life, is a lack of patience. It is not for the meek. Okay. I mean,
it's not.
If you really want to write a book and have it published by a traditional publisher, it has to be really damn good. Number one. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it also has to be perfect. And then also, I mean, to be real, you have to have something special, when I queried, I didn't know what I was doing. I just wasn't.
When she says queried, she means, explain that. I know what it is, but because you taught me.
Yeah. Well, so the typical person's journey, not you, but the typical person is that you write a book, you have a completed manuscript. It's squeaky clean. You send it to a copy editor. You don't try to edit it yourself. Mistake. Okay. No. Okay. You have to pay. You have to pay someone to copy edit your book. Really, it's best to developmentally edit. But if you're not going to do that, then definitely copy edit before your manuscript gets sent to anybody. And it has to be completely ready. And then you've got to write the perfect query letter, which there's all kinds of tutorials about that out there. And then, you're pretty much going to end up in a slush pile. So just be prepared to not hear back from anybody. And it is the worst feeling because you're like... Yeah,
that rejection or not even rejection. It's just ghosting.
Incredibly humbling experience. And, but you know what? I get the physics of no. And this is what it is. You just got to be real. I mean, there's 5 major publishers out there pretty much. They've gobbled up all the little ones. And there's 1,700 agents who are all trying to get your book traditionally published. And so just do the math on that. A book's published every 8 seconds. And so I'm 50, and, I'm just first debut novel at 50, There's nothing there. I don't have a good enough story. And so it just wasn't going to happen. And I wish I'd known that, but mainly I wish I'd been more patient finding out, and also more patient with the book, and just realizing, okay. And people kept saying, oh, it's 5 years. I'm like, I'm not waiting 5 years. So even publishing the book, self-publishing the book, which I did finally do, I rushed it and I made mistakes. So If I were to sum it all up into one thing, slow your roll, have no expectations, and just enjoy writing a novel,
Yes, that's great
Yeah.
advice. And I need the patience thing is, I have a friend who, she's an interior designer, and Kelly, shout out Kelly Morgan. She's amazing here in Atlanta and at the lake, whatever. Anyway, she knows I've never had her do a whole house for me or whatever, because she would be like, you can't do it. Like, if the people that wait like 8 weeks for a couch,
Right.
I'm like, no, I'm not waiting for 8 weeks. I'm like, I want it today. And so she was like, I cannot do this for you. She made me wait for a couple things. And she was like, so patience is absolutely my not virtue, if that's even a word.
I know.
Like I'm the least patient human. And like you said, with this process, patience is required. So that is, oh my gosh, I could talk to you all day. And I seriously think we're going to talk. We're going to put in the show notes, y'all. She sent her pledge composite picture, and it's almost exactly like mine.
I know.
Like we look kind of like the same person, except for I have some weird, like, going straight outside of my hair. But anyway.
I don't think there's no way you had on as much eyeliner as I have.
I don't know. I beg to differ.
I almost did the bottom lid today just for fun, but then I thought, no.
Oh, why not?
I should have.
Come on, you should have. And I'm going to make her do it for the show notes show. Okay, so you know where this is going. I already know it because you've already said it, but let's just reiterate it because I think it's great. Bama Rush popularized the hashtag OOTD outfit of the day. For Mad Rush, I'm repurposing it into observation of the day. So what is your hashtag observation of the day?
So this is what I'll just say. The power of the pivot. Okay. There's power in the pivot. And
I love that. I'm stealing that too.
Yeah. I think I'm going to blog about it in a couple of months. But anyway, so there's only 3 things in life you can't change. Now, I mean, there may be more, but I'm going to say 3. You cannot change your bio parents, right? You can't change taxes. You're going to pay them. And death. Other than that, everything is dynamic, okay? Like if you choose the wrong college, you can transfer. If you choose the wrong sorority, you don't have to stay there. I mean, I know you don't want to hear that, but it's truth. I mean, it's okay.
No, it's true.
And
so true.
Yeah. And, if you choose the wrong spouse, you can get a divorce. I mean, so if you choose the wrong profession, if you choose the wrong job, if whatever, okay? I mean, once you have a...
But I'm going to interject, it may not even be wrong at the time, but
right.
You're evolving. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so
that's what you're saying.
The reason I say all this, because I remember when my kids went through the college thing and it was excruciating for my daughter. She's like, Georgia, Emory, what should I do? What should I do? And I'm like, just pick one, and it'll be fine. And if you don't love it, then you can change. And so so I have been really fortunate to have a spouse who is really supportive, and I have been of him. And we've always embraced the power of the pivot. It doesn't need to be willy-nilly, right? I mean, it needs to be thoughtfully done. And I recommend the taper. Like if you're in a profession like at our age, if you've been in something for 20 years, I don't recommend just cold turkey cutting it off and everything's just different. I mean, that's kind of hard. There's something called the taper.
I like the taper. Yeah, I like that.
And segue into it. But don't be afraid to do something different. It's always going to learn something new. No matter what, you're never going to not learn anything by doing something different. And so I'm a big fan of that. So that's amazing. That's my observation.
That's a great one.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're amazing.
Well, I think you're amazing. I'm so proud of you. I really am. I mean, you've done so much for so many girls and families who were scared to death of this process that really can be joyful if they just if they just go about it in the right way and with the right mindset. And you've really empowered a lot of people to do that. So kudos to you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you so much for your
being
support.
Here. I can't wait to go to, of course, can't wait to go to Dubai with you.
Yes.
I think I might just come to Kentucky first.
All right, do that. Hurry up.
All right. Thank you. Enjoy the lake. Thank you for being with me today. This was amazing.
Thank you, Tricia. Talk to you later.
Welcome to Time Out with Tricia. Because can you really give advice if you don't speak about yourself in the third person? I don't think so. This is exactly how I speak to my clients. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. Now let's get into it. So that was really fun and interesting. And wow, her life is really cool. I loved her observation of the day and the fact that her story just emphasizes the importance of pivoting and being open to pivoting. So when you guys go through rush, you are going to have to pivot, and you're going to have to do it quickly, and you're going to have to do it with a positive attitude. So I just said in this episode, one of my least favorite things is when people act bored when I'm talking to them. And that is true for anything, but especially in rush. You want to be happy to be there. And then when you do find out your schedule in the morning or night or whenever you find it out, be open to pivoting, because the choices that you have left are just that. Those are the choices you have left. So you have to move forward with intention and positivity. So I've said this before to you guys, take a few minutes to cry, do whatever, wash your face, and get back out there. You owe it to yourself to be open to the choices you have left. And like Beth said, if you go through this and you end up somewhere you don't like, and you give it a really, really good try to see if you do like it, and you don't, then you don't have to stay. It's your choice. And that's it for Time Out with Tricia. We'll see you on another episode of the Mad Rush Podcast. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Mad Rush Podcast. If you are enjoying this podcast, please consider leaving us a 5-star review. For additional Rush tips, updates, and more, please follow me on Instagram at Rush with Confidence. If you would like to reach out to us, or for more information, please email info@madrushpod.com. Don't Touch My Radio. This podcast is produced by Collier Landry and Don't Touch My Radio. Copyright Tricia Addicks.